Hello, it's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee. Now today we're going to make a very simple hat. We're going to use a hood. This is a detachable hood from a coat, so we've got the little buttonholes. But we're going to use this as a pattern. What we need, of course, we need the sewing machine, scissors, maybe a couple of pins. And I'm going to decorate it by using up some of this rug wool, and it's basically little strands of rug, and I'm going to put them on the main seam. So very simple, very simple make. I'm using fleece. I'm a huge fan of fleece. It doesn't fray, it's environmentally friendly, it's just lovely, easy to sew. So what we're going to do is we're going to line up this, and we're going to give ourselves a good ½ inch hem allowance, maybe even a full inch, as just to make life really easy for ourselves. Now we need it to be, as you can see, this is 2 panels and a strip, so all I was doing there was I was straightening it out slightly because we don't need that bump, but we can work around that. Okay, so let's get this lined up. I can use the previous hem of the fabric. As you can see, I've got a double layer of fleece here, and I have my scissors that I've now buried, and it's very simple, just going to cut round the hat. Now of course you can cut round it in paper and then pin the paper to the fabric. It really depends. The nicest thing about this fleece as well is it's got a sort of friction to it, so you can see I can place that there and it doesn't really move. So I'll just whiz around here. I could have done it before I switched the camera on, but it's which bits do I include in these videos and which bits do I cut, do I just not show you. So there we go, get rid of that, get this sorted. Okay, maybe I could have given myself a little bit more room, but you know, I didn't, so I'm not going to worry. Alright, so I've now got 2 pieces. So by flattening out that seam on the original hood, I can then get the shaping right. And it is just a very simple shape. So there we go. Easy. Put it there and then you can see it. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to hem both these sides singularly. It's not going to be a lined hat or anything, and then I am going to sew the 2 together. Now there is a slight difference in fleece. This one's got sort of a wavy side and this one's slightly darker and has got more like a velvet side. Now it doesn't really show when it is new like this, so you do have to be careful, but when it's done a few washes then it really does show. As I said before, it doesn't fray or anything, so all I'm doing is literally 1 fold and I'm sewing round. If I did 2 folds then it might be a bit too heavy and feel a bit uncomfortable. Okay, so I'm going to pause the camera whilst I just carry on doing that. I just want to do this bottom corner. So I've come down the side, this is the front. I'm now going to fold it over, carry on sewing. When I'm just under it, I can see that the foot was kicking it out of the way. So I'm going to lift the foot and then I'm going to go onto it. I'm going to make sure my needle's down, and then I am just going to make sure that I'm actually sewing it, make sure my needle's down, and then I'm going to turn it. Okay, how easy is that? And it's an obedient fabric. That's all I can say about fleece. So let's get these 2 bits done and then we can move on to the next stage. Hi, welcome back. Okay, so I have my rug strips of wool here, and if you wanted to use a pom-pom, then that's great. All we do is cut that open and you will have lengths of wool the same length, that length, and that would work very well. If you wanted to cut up the wool yourself, then I would recommend that you use a pom-pom making machine or make a pom-pom and then cut it up. So what we have here is we have the right side facing up and we have the right side facing down. This is the line of sew we're going to sew. Now what I want to do is I want to take my wool strips, I'm going to use a small stitch on the sewing machine, and every inch I'm going to put, there must be about 20 little bits of wool there. I'm not going to do the whole, I'm going to do it an inch at a time, because if I put my wool here, even if I pinned it, it would sort of fly away. So we have our sewing machine here, we're going to set it to a nice small stitch. This is so that it catches the wool as much as possible. We're then going to place it in the sewing machine and we're going to do a couple of stitches, reverse stitch, just to keep it all in, and then we're going to start sewing. So I'm sewing over these wool bits. I'm making sure that this is nicely lined up. Okay, and I've come over to the end of those wool bits. I'm going to take a few more and then I can place these in. So I'm not worrying about the garment as a whole, all I'm worrying about is the inches in front of me. So there we go, laying it flat, pull this back over, well, place it actually, make sure it's lined up again because it's very easy to stretch, and then away I go. Now if we tried to do this with a bigger stitch, obviously all this wool would then fall out, wouldn't it? You know, we'd leave a trail. Okay, just going to line these up a bit better, squish them down, and then away I go. Now what I'm going for is also, although they are mainly the right length, the same length, but I like the fact that they are different lengths on the machine. And we can always trim this wool afterwards, but it is going to be on the inside, so it's not too much. Now, dividing up your wool pieces as well, it's a trick, isn't it? I know on this one already that I have quite a large clump at the base, and then maybe it's going to get a bit narrower as I go up, and then the last sort of clump I got, yeah, I've got to make sure I don't run out, so, but I do want to use it all up, because that's the whole idea of it. I'm using up leftover bits. And I do have the cushion somewhere here. No, it's nice enough, isn't it? It's very colourful. And bought it as a kit, and they always give you slightly extra wool. And what do you do with leftover wool? Well, I'm going to use it. So now this is acrylic wool, I know that, just because, which means that I'm going to be able to wash this as normal. There's going to be no problems. Now I'm coming up to the end. What I want to make sure is that these two ends meet. So any adjustments that I do, I'm going to do now. So I'm not going to try and do a pucker. That's what I'm trying to avoid. But what I would like to do is, if this bottom one needs stretching slightly, I'm going to give it a tug, and if I want more fabric coming off the top, I'm going to keep this as an angle so my sewing machine picks up more fabric. Okay, I'm just going to give it a tug at the end. Don't know why it's decided that it didn't like me picking it up. And this last one, I'm just going to tweeze it out a bit. So place that in there, roll it down, and what you could do if you were doing it, you could give it a good shake and then make sure that you've got all these last bits in. So now the point of it is I'm going to hold these two seams together. I'm going to make sure that they're nice and tight so that when I'm sewing these two match up. And I suppose in a way that's the most important bit for me to make, because it would really show. Alright, so that's done. I can now take a pair of scissors and trim it off. I could even go through and do another row of stitches just to make sure everything's secure. Give it a little shake just in case. And there we go. I've got a little mohawk hat with spiky bits. Let's get that on. Oh. So there we are. It's a bit like a cowl, I suppose, but I know I am ready to get down the stables and enjoy the snowy weather. Okay, thank you so much for watching. My name's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee.